It's the Las Vegas Aces versus the Indiana Fever, and you're ready for a showdown. But you didn't sign up for this, because just a few minutes in, things go left. And not in the, oh wow, what a comeback kind of way. We're talking elbows, shoves, blatant flops, and what looks a lot like a star player spiraling into unsportsmanlike chaos on national television. The footage is not subtle. A.J. Wilson, 4-time MVP, face of the league, someone who should be leading by example, throws an elbow, then another. Then she flops so dramatically you'd think she got hit by a bus, not lightly brushed by a defender.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
And then it happens. The moment fans can't stop replaying. A shove. Lexie Ho, mid-play, gets tossed aside like an afterthought. And AJ doesn't even flinch. No apology. No glance. Just turns and walks like it's business as usual. Only it's not. Social media lights up like a Christmas tree. Replays, zoom-ins, slow-mos. And suddenly, everyone's asking the same question. What the hell is going on with A.J. Wilson? Because this wasn't just one bad moment. It was a pattern. The kind you can't ignore. The kind that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the player being called the future of women's basketball. Let's rewind a bit. A.J. Wilson has never been just another player. From day one, she's had that glow, that superstar aura. The stats, the accolades, the charisma. She's been the WNBA's golden girl, racking up MVPs like it's nothing, leading the Aces to championship runs, and dominating the paint like it's her private real estate. But there's always been a little edge, a little too much aggression, the kind of stuff that some fans write off as competitive fire, while others raise eyebrows at. And during this game, that edge turned into a full-blown blade. Now, let's be real, basketball's physical. Contact happens. Tempers flare. But this wasn't heat of the moment intensity. This was calculated, deliberate. Watch the footage closely. Wilson knows exactly what she's doing. Illegal screens that knock players off their feet. Shoves that don't even pretend to be about the ball. Flops that feel like a masterclass in bad acting. And the worst part? The refs? Silent. Whistles swallowed. Fans noticed. Oh! Everyone noticed. Because while AJ was out there throwing elbows and pretending to be fouled by a gust of wind, the Indiana Fever were doing something wild. Actually playing basketball. Led by Kelsey Mitchell, the Fever looked calm, focused, professional. And yes, that includes Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. Two players who've been under a ridiculous amount of pressure, both on and off the court. While AJ was trying to pump people out, the Fever were running plays, setting clean screens, and sinking buckets. And the contrast was embarrassing. It exposed something bigger than just one dirty game. It revealed a whole mindset. Because here's the thing, A.J. Wilson didn't look like an MVP. She looked like someone trying to compensate. She missed wide-open layups, committed blatant fouls, and then tried to cover it all up with drama. The physical stuff wasn't strategy. It was frustration. And the referees? Well, let's just say they didn't help. Calls were inconsistent. Obvious fouls against the Fever? Ignored. Touch fouls on A.J.? Whistle blown in under a second. The kind of imbalance that makes you wonder if you're watching basketball or politics. It's no wonder fans are heated. Because when one team plays smart, clean, and by the book, and the other team gets away with borderline assault, you've got a credibility problem. And it's not just about one game. This isn't the first time AJ has been called out for this kind of behavior. There's a pattern, and not a flattering one. Multiple games where she's lost composure, lashed out, or flopped to manipulate refs. But this time, there's video, crystal clear, and fans aren't having it. The shove on Lexie Ho was the final straw. Let's talk about that moment, because it wasn't a basketball move. Lexie wasn't guarding her aggressively. She wasn't even bracing for contact. She was in the play, and AJ just checked her out of it. If this happened in a men's game, we'd be talking ejections. Technicals. At the very least, something. But again, crickets. And Lexie? She didn't retaliate. Didn't make a scene. just got up and kept playing. That is professionalism. That is what fans want to see. So now we have to ask, why is the league protecting A.J. Wilson? Because that's how it looks. When you've got a player acting like this on camera and the refs don't call it, and the league doesn't comment, it looks like favoritism. And that's the kind of thing that kills fan trust. You can be a star, a champ, an MVP for times over. But if you lose the respect of the people watching, you've got nothing. And make no mistake, this game wasn't just a bad night. It was a flashing red warning light. A.J. Wilson is undeniably talented. But right now, she's playing dirty. And more people are finally saying it out loud. Meanwhile, the Fever are building something. Something real. Aaliyah Boston is steady, dominant, and smart. Caitlin Clark is adapting, distributing, and playing both ends. And the team as a whole, they're not just flashy, they're disciplined. You watch them and you think, this is the future. You watch A.J. Wilson elbowing Lexie Hull in the ribs and flopping like she's auditioning for an Oscar, and you think, this is what we're rewarding? The WNBA has worked too hard to build legitimacy to let this slide. Because what happens next matters. If the league stays silent, it tells players, you can play dirty if you're a star. If the refs keep protecting Wilson, it tells fans, this game isn't fair. And if this becomes a norm, then the league stops growing. The WNBA's audience is growing because fans want real competition. They want grit, skill, passion, not petty drama and unchecked violence. The Fever are giving them that. The Aces, right now, they're giving them reality TV energy. And maybe that's the real twist here. A.J. Wilson isn't just acting like the villain. She's writing her own downfall in real time. Because MVP titles don't mean much if they come with a side of controversy every single time. And fans, they remember. So what now? Does the league step in and issue a warning? A fine? Does A.J. make a statement? Apologize? Or do they all just hope we move on, forget, and tune in next week like nothing happened? Because that's the crossroads we're at. This game didn't just expose Wilson's behavior. It exposed a gap in accountability. And the longer that gap goes unaddressed, the more it grows. So here's the real question. Do we want a league where talent gets a free pass to act reckless? Or do we want one where skill and sportsmanship actually matter? Because you can't have it both ways. A.J. Wilson might be a 4-time MVP, but if she keeps this up, she's not just risking her reputation. She's dragging the whole league down with her. And for what? A few cheap fouls and a highlight reel of flops? At some point, you gotta ask yourself, is it worth it? Because the Fever just exposed something way bigger than a dirty play. They exposed the cracks in the system. Now, let's see if anyone bothers to fix them. Let me know what you think. Was this just an intense game gone off the rails? Or is A.J. Wilson finally showing us who she really is? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more unfiltered breakdowns of the chaos no one else wants to talk about, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, this meltdown, it's only the beginning. After the final buzzer sounds and the scoreboard shows the Fever walking away with a W, the real show kicks off. And no, it's not in the locker room or the press conference. It's online, on fan cams, in comment sections, on TikTok, where slow-mo replays of A.J. Wilson's elbow make her look less like an MVP and more like an enforcer for a mob team in a Netflix drama. Suddenly, everyone's got receipts. Clips from past games surface. Wilson throwing shade, throwing bodies, throwing herself on the floor like a stage actor in a Shakespearean tragedy. One moment, she's on the free throw line with steely focus. The next, she's flailing midair after the slightest bump like she just got hit by a wrecking ball. And fans are putting it all together like it's a true crime documentary. It's not a one-off. It's a playlist. You ever watch someone unravel in real time? It's chilling, because what you start to realize is this isn't just about A.J. Wilson having a bad day. This is about a player, and maybe even a team who's gotten way too comfortable playing by a different set of rules. And that right there, that's where fans start to lose faith. Because for years, the Aces have been sold to us as the gold standard. Championship pedigree, big names, big contracts. A walking PR machine for what women's basketball can be when it's firing on all cylinders. But this game, this footage, it's like seeing behind a curtain, and what's back there isn't pretty. Let's talk about the psychological side of this. A.J. Wilson wasn't just physically aggressive. She was rattled. You could see it. Every missed layup, every non-call she didn't get, every time the Fever ran a play that actually worked, it got to her, and instead of adjusting, instead of elevating, she lashed out. That's the thing about dominance. When you're used to winning a certain way, when you're used to being the alpha in the room, you don't take well to being humbled. And the Fever, they didn't just beat the Aces. They outclassed them. They didn't fight dirty. They didn't fake fouls. They didn't shove. They just played smart, controlled, beautiful basketball. And that drove A.J. Wilson to the edge. Because there's nothing more infuriating to a dominant player on tilt than someone who refuses to stoop to their level. Lexie Hull didn't swing back. Boston didn't throw an elbow. Caitlin Clark didn't so much as blink at the chaos. She just kept moving the ball, draining shots, and letting Wilson unravel on her own. That's psychological warfare in its purest form. And let's not pretend the Aces haven't been flirting with this meltdown for a while. You watch their bench energy when they're down. It's like watching high schoolers who just found out prom was canceled. Pouting, sulking, disengaged. They're not a team. They're a collection of egos on a losing streak. And AJ is the captain of that sinking ship. You want to know what separates good players from great ones? Resilience. Anyone can win when the calls go your way and your shot's falling. But when it's not, when the other team is executing better, getting in your head, exposing your weaknesses, that's when the real players show up. And in this game, A.J. Wilson didn't show up. She imploded. But you know who did? The rookies. The grinders. The ones who have everything to prove and nothing to lose. Aaliyah Boston played like a veteran. Caitlin Clark played like she's been here before. Kelsey Mitchell, ice in her veins. These women didn't just win. They earned it. And that's something A.J. Wilson might not understand anymore. Because when you've been handed MVP after MVP, when the league treats you like royalty, when every foul gets overlooked and every flop gets rewarded, it's easy to forget what earned actually feels like. But now, the spotlight's not just on AJ's performance. It's on her character. And that's the part you can't fix with a highlight reel. Because what happens when fans start saying she's dirty? What happens when little girls watching start asking why their favorite player is pushing people instead of playing the game? What happens when coaches at the youth level use you as the example of what not to do? That's legacy damage. That doesn't get undone with another championship ring. And the league? They're in hot water too. Because if they keep protecting her, if they keep acting like this footage doesn't exist, they're complicit. This isn't just about AJ anymore. It's about whether the WNBA wants to be taken seriously. Because sports fans aren't dumb. They know a bias when they see one. And when you protect your stars at the expense of integrity, you start losing the people who keep your league alive. The fans. The ones paying for tickets, jerseys, streaming packages. The ones who care. Let's say what everyone's thinking. If any other player had done what AJ did to Lexie Hull, they'd be fined, suspended, roasted in post-game interviews. But Wilson? She'll probably get a soft focus interview and a passionate competitor label. Please. She didn't compete. She bullied. She flopped. She embarrassed the game. And unless someone in the league office grows a spine, it's going to keep happening. So what do? Do we chalk it up as drama and move on? Do we pretend like this wasn't a full-blown meltdown caught in 4K? Or do we finally start having the uncomfortable conversation about what kind of player we want at the top of this league? Because the WNBA deserves better. The players deserve better. The fans? They deserve so much better. We deserve a league where discipline is respected, where talent doesn't get a free pass to act reckless, where MVPs are held to higher standards, not coddled like fragile brands we can't afford to tarnish. And yeah, this might be hard for some people to hear. A.J. Wilson is a big name. She's done great things. She's been a role model for a lot of fans. But greatness without accountability? That's not leadership. That's just PR. And if we're building a league for the future, a league that lasts, a league that stands toe-to-toe with the best in the world, then we have to demand more. Because if we don't, we get more of this. More elbows, more flops, more games that feel rigged, more stars acting like they're above the rules. And let's be honest, nobody wants to watch that. So here we are. One viral game, one shocking moment, one out-of-control superstar. The internet's watching. The fans are watching. And now, the WNBA has a choice to make. Will they stand for integrity, or will they protect the brand? Because something tells me this isn't going away. But hey, maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe A.J. Wilson was just having a moment. Maybe Lexie Hull got in her space. Maybe the refs missed a few things. Maybe it's all one big misunderstanding. Sure, and maybe I'll win MVP next season. Look, we don't hate A.J. Wilson. No one's canceling her. But we are calling it like it is. She crossed the line multiple times. And if the league doesn't check it now, they're basically handing her a license to do it again. And again. And again. Once the headlines died down and the social media clips stopped trending, there's a quieter kind of fallout that starts to creep in. The kind that doesn't show up on stat sheets or ESPN panels. It's in the locker rooms, the training camps, the group chats players don't let the public see. And you better believe A.J. Wilson's name is coming up. Here's the thing no one wants to say out loud. The respect is cracking. Behind the forced smiles and post-game media cliches, players notice this stuff. They remember who played with integrity and who tried to win with elbows and theatrics. And once that respect is gone, it doesn't come back easily. You think Lexie Hull is going to forget that shove anytime soon? You think Caitlin Clark, who's already been body-checked half to death since entering the league, didn't clock Wilson's little stunt and add it to her mental receipts? Because this is bigger than a rivalry now. This is about reputation, about how you're perceived inside the league, not just by fans and camera crews. AJ might still be collecting accolades from analysts, but among players, the side eyes are getting harder to ignore. When you make a habit of going dirty and daring the refs to call it, the sisterhood, the unspoken bond between professionals, starts to fracture. And trust me, that's not just bad for AJ. That's bad for everyone. Because once one player stops respecting the boundaries, the game gets dangerous. That's when frustration builds. That's when injuries happen. That's when sports stop being sports and start becoming something uglier. And we're already seeing it. You can feel the tension rising across the league. Players are getting fed up with the double standards, the missed calls, the stars who play like they're untouchable. You can see it in the way defenses are starting to play tighter, more physical, more personal. If the league doesn't check this now, someone else will. And when that happens, when a lesser-known player finally decides to answer back, to throw a harder elbow, to give AJ a taste of her own medicine, it won't be a rivalry. It'll be a reckoning. And guess who'll get blamed? Not the player who retaliates. Not the one who finally says, enough. No, they'll go after the league. Because fans will ask, rightly, why didn't you stop this when you had the chance? And speaking of fans, let's talk about them. Because while everyone's debating the foul count and watching slow-mo replays, the average viewer is sitting on their couch going, wait, this is a league everyone's hyping up right now. And that's not shade. That's concern. Because the WNBA is finally getting the spotlight it deserves. And what shows up in the spotlight matters. You only get one shot at a first impression. And for a lot of new viewers tuning in because of rookies like Clark, Boston, Reese, or even the new media deals, this game was their first real exposure. And what did they see? They saw a supposed league leader shove a player to the floor. They saw flops that would make soccer fans blush. They saw refs looking straight at fouls and doing nothing. And they saw a team rewarded for playing dirty and still losing. Tell me that doesn't plant a seed of doubt. Now don't get it twisted. Most of us love a little drama. We live for a good rivalry. Passion? Fire? Trash talk? Yes, please. But there's a difference between heat and hostility. Between competitiveness and chaos. And what A.J. Wilson did, that wasn't fire. That was fury. That was a meltdown in progress. You ever seen someone so used to dominating that they literally can't process what's happening when things go sideways? That's what we saw. AJ wasn't strategizing. She wasn't recalibrating. She was flailing mentally and physically, and you felt it. Through the screen, it was like watching a queen lose her crown in slow motion. The facial expressions, the way she looked at the refs like, how dare you not call that? The growing desperation in her movements. It was all there. This is the moment where legacy players either evolve or implode. Right now, AJ's leaning hard into option 2. And what's wild is, she didn't have to. She had everything going for her. 4 MVPs, a championship resume, a solid fan base, a league willing to market her at every opportunity. All she had to do was hold it together, prove she could lead through adversity. Instead, she let her ego take the wheel. And let's be honest, ego has been creeping into that Aces locker room for a while now. The flashy pregame fits, the inevitable attitude, the way they carry themselves like the league owes them something. It worked when they were winning, but now it's starting to look like a cover-up for cracks in the foundation. Because when the wins stop coming easily and the newer, hungrier teams start climbing, all that swagger doesn't look cool anymore. It looks like denial. Meanwhile, the Fever, they're looking like the blueprint. No drama, no dirty fouls, just growth, development, chemistry, the kind of stuff that actually builds dynasties, not just flash-in-the-pan success stories. Clark and Boston are laying the groundwork for a new era, one based on actual basketball, not intimidation, not victim playing, not flopping like you've been shot, just consistent team-first execution. It's not as flashy, but it works, and more importantly, it's sustainable. AJ Wilson needs to take a hard look in the mirror, because if she keeps this up, if she keeps relying on brute force and ref sympathy instead of adjusting her game, she's not just risking more bad press, she's risking irrelevance. And that's the real danger here. Not suspension, not fines, but a slow fade into that weird category of players who were once great, but couldn't evolve. The ones who get talked about with a sad kind of nostalgia. She was good, but man, she fell off hard. And no one wants that. Especially not from someone with AJ's talent. But talent is only part of the equation. The rest? It's about growth, accountability, self-awareness. And until she shows us any of that, we're going to keep having the same conversation every time she throws another elbow or flops like she's on Broadway. So here's where we land. This game wasn't just a blowout. It was a wake-up call. For AJ, for the refs, for the league itself. Because if this is the product we're putting out there, if this is how we handle our stars when they start acting like villains, then we're sending the wrong message to every player coming up behind them. That message? Winning is all that matters. Sportsmanship is optional. And that's not just a slippery slope. That's a cliff. So, WNBA, it's time to decide. Are we protecting a player or protecting the game? Because you can't do both. If you made it this far, you're clearly as fired up as we are. So sound off, are we being too harsh? Or is AJ Wilson finally facing the consequences of years of unchecked behavior? Drop your take in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you want more real talk, more drama deep dives, and more chaos you won't get on the highlight reels, make sure to subscribe. This league is heating up, and we'll be here to break it down every time it boils over.